Hi, welcome to Cassie's Corner. My name is Cassie and I'm your host. And today I just wanted to show you how I have set up my 2024 reading journal. Now, this is a bullet journal, but I do have to say that this is the cheapest one, I believe, that one can find on Amazon. It's called Paperage, Paperage. You can find these at Walmart, at most bookstores. And like I said, this one came from Amazon. I think the yellow one was the cheapest, but hey, I love yellow. Yellow is one of my favorite colors. So I just wanted to say that while I'm going to be showing you my bullet journal spreads for 2024, I do want to make sure you guys know that this is completely affordable. And in a second video, I am going to show you how you can make a really great reading journal just out of a regular notebook. But for now, I want to show you how I set up my 2024 reading journal. All right, so to begin, I just put my name here in the front, and I decided to leave a page blank. I always like to do that just in case there's something that I want to put here at the front. For example, maybe an index or something like that. I figure it's always better to have some blank pages later on. So the next few pages are going to be pretty intuitive for those of you who are familiar with bullet journaling for books. Usually people like to draw in these beautiful bookshelves and draw books in them. Now, it's been my experience that when I do this, I don't draw my books big enough. So I've decided to dedicate multiple pages to drawing bookshelves in different ways so that I can write down the books that I've read throughout the year. Now, in 2023, at the end of August, I had read 65 books. And for 2024, I knew that I wanted at least 65 books plus more. So I have, I believe, 27 on this page. And then I drew a castle because I really like fantasy books. It's not all I read, of course, but I do love fantasy books and I like the castle. Now, I'm not claiming to be an absolute great drawer, but these were some concepts that I came up with. These are supposed to be clouds that I put in with a highlighter. I mean, it's very simple. You can make this by using Crayola crayons, basically. And I added some more books. I think there's about 25 on this one. And then my husband came up with the idea of the hungry caterpillar because I was like, what else are other things that I like? And I have a beautiful butterfly garden. I'm really into helping the local pollinators. And he said, how about some kind of caterpillar or butterfly thing? And I was like, oh, the hungry caterpillar. And I can make all his different segments be a different book. And so I tried my best to draw the very hungry caterpillar. And again, I basically just used Crayola markers for this. For his face, I didn't mean for his eyes to look so angry, but I just made some yellow eyes and put green in the middle. And so that's the way it turned out. And I'm fine with that. And I think that with this and all the other ones, I have over 80 spaces to fill in for the books that I read in 2024. Still, I decided to go ahead and add some extra pages just in case I end up reading more than I anticipate for 2024 the way that I did for 2023. So here is my title page. I decided to go ahead and put that after those standard bookshelf book pages. I really just wanted this to be as simple as possible. I got a set of stickers that had lavender on them. I got them a while ago. I can't remember for what project, but I found them and I was like, this is perfect for my reading journal title page. So all I did was write Cassie's reading journal. As you can see, I'm not using any kind of special lettering or anything like that. I just tried to make it look nice and that's it. you know, you don't necessarily have to have a title page. Obviously, this page is going to be just fine. But if you're like me and you like to have something just kind of setting it apart, this is what I did. And just kind of remember that with the stickers, when you're going to put the stickers on, try to remember that the bigger the stickers, the more heavy it's going to feel. So basically, when you put the stickers on the bottom, it feels right because the stickers add heaviness to a blank page. So basically, when I was designing this page, I kept that in mind, and I only put a few stickers on top, and I put most of my stickers on bottom. So now we're going to get to the really good stuff, and these are some pages that I came up with myself, whether it was inspired from somebody else's pages or just things that I came up with. Right here I have a book bingo, and I just took a ruler and I measured out 5 squares equally. I believe it was 5 inches by 5 inches, and that's how I made this. This is a book bingo. Basically, I just put different kinds of prompts for different kinds of elements of books that I would like to read in 2024. So for example, this is a free space, and then I've got 5-star books, a book written in first person, a book written in the 1700s. I'll just go ahead and go through all of these. Thriller, true crime, pets, and that just means a book that has pets in it. A series, a psychology book, because I do have a BS in psychology and I love to keep up to date with psychology. A recommendation, an origin story. I love villain origin stories, so I thought that that would be a really good one. A memoir. I have not been reading as much biography and memoir this year, so I want to make sure I get some in 2024. A young adult book. Mystery, sci-fi. That's another one that I don't read as much as I think I should, because I do love sci-fi books. A book written in the 1800s, a new author for me. Journalism. So by this I mean something like there's a book called Devil in the White City. That's a really good example of journalism. Another one is Columbine by Dave Cullen, and another one is In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. All of those were written by journalists, okay? And so that's what I mean by journalism. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking maybe even Kitchen Confidential, which is a book that I haven't read by Anthony Bourdain, might be a good book to include for the journalism one. So I just wanted to explain that. A classic, and classic for me is just something that just about everybody can look at it and be like, oh yeah, that's a classic. So paranormal, a middle grade book. This is another area where I just have underread recently, and I love middle grade books. I love sharing them with my kids who are a little bit old for that. My son is in junior high and my daughter is in high school, but I still love the magic of middle grade books, and I wanted to discover a few more in 2024. So I included that. A fantasy, a book written in the third person, a strong female character, and a nonfiction. And typically in the average year, I read somewhere between 60% and 75% fiction and 40% to 25% nonfiction. So I just want to make sure that I keep myself accountable for the nonfiction. Over here, I included a book quote. These are really popular in book journals. Obviously, you don't have to include these in yours, but I really like this one. It says, in the case of good books, the point is not to see how many of them you can get through, but rather how many can get through to you. And that's by Mortimer J. Adler. And I think this is a really important quote to keep in mind, especially when we're focused so much on how much and the quantity of what we read, because what really matters is the quality and that we're getting something out of this. And that's another reason why I love making a 2024 bullet journal and why I like journaling when I'm reading, because it helps me get more out of it. So moving on to the next page, here I have my 1001 books read in 2024. I decided to go with something really simple, a really simple two-tone color, where we've got this kind of salmon or peach color along with this spring green. And my goal is to read at least 3 books from the 1001 books to read before you die list every month. So I included just over 36 of these lines here so that I can record the books that I read and hopefully be able to read a little bit more. And that would be really great. So as you can see, I put this over the course of, I guess, 4 pages so that I could do that. So I think a lot of us can relate to the concept of having a lot of recommendations, especially if you're an avid reader or a voracious reader. And I definitely get a lot of recommendations. So I wanted to make a specific page just for the recommendations I get. Now, I want to be really clear. Sometimes I'll be watching a booktuber and they'll be talking about books that they really like, and I'll want to write them down or add them to my TBR and all of that. That's not what I'm talking about. These are recommendations that somebody who either knows me or somebody who I ask actually recommends specifically for me. So what I have is I tried to design this to look like a library card, and I used a highlighter to highlight every other line. And if you'll notice, a lot of library cards look like that. So that's another reason why I made that decision. And all I did was make a little skinny column for read, whether or not I've read the book yet. The name of the person who is recommending me the book, and then the name of the book. And this is just a way for me to keep track of that, because there are so many times when I'll add books to my TBR on Goodreads, but I won't write down why I added them. And this will just help me keep track of books that people have recommended that I read, because I really like to read those first if I can. So in the same vein as the bingo, I thought that this would be a really fun concept to do. Now, I do have to say I didn't measure this out the way that I did for the other one, so it might not look as neat, but it is the same concept, only it's some of my peeves in reading. And I thought that it would be just really funny and fun, and just a way to kind of lighten up the mood when I see something that I typically really don't like in books. So I will go through all of these as well. These are just things that are either cliche or things that when I see in books, sometimes I cringe a little or I don't really like it. For example, my middle is utilize. I think utilize is a ridiculous word. I understand that some people love to use it, and that's fine. I'm not like mad at people who use it, but I just think that it's a ridiculous word. So whenever I see it used, I just always take note of that. So I thought that that would be a really good starting out place. So some of the other ones are a shock of hair. I'm sure we've heard of a shock of white hair or a shock of blonde hair. And then raven hair, people of color described as food, specifically African American. So I put Black people as food. For example, mocha or coffee colored, that kind of stuff. I really don't like that. I'm also a person of color. And I really wouldn't like it if it was used to describe people with Hispanic heritage, right? So then we have didn't know holding breath. Of course, in especially a lot of young adult romances, there are people who all of a sudden they let go of a breath they don't know that they're holding. That's for that moment. We have azure sky. People referring to their brother or sister as sister or brother so that we, the audience, know that they're related. When people drawl or deadpan, when a person speaks and we find out that she purred, murmured, of course. Something that I really dislike in books is easy resolved miscommunication. So this is for those moments where two characters are just not seeing eye to eye, and it can be so easily resolved if they just communicate a little bit better. Or in a lot of times, if somebody is able to step in and be like, oh, hey, wait a minute, you guys just don't understand this very simple concept. We also have almond-shaped eyes. Another thing is that people who are from Asian countries are often described only as almond-shaped eyes. This is something that's a peeve for me. And so I also included that. She blinked. It's just another one of those things that I don't really like that much. We have avoiding something like the plague. Now, I personally really like plague in that I really like to study it. So whenever I read somebody avoiding something like the plague, it always kind of makes me laugh, because if there was something that had to do with the plague, I'd probably one towards it, as long as it's not plague itself. So when I think of avoiding like the plague, it's always kind of silly in my mind, just because I really like science and microbiology. Here we have obsession is sweet and not creepy. I think a very easy book to reference for this is like the Twilight series, but there's a lot of series and where romance is depicted. In fact, a lot of books, romance is depicted as being unhealthy, as if that's the norm for romance. And I think that that can be problematic for some readers. So I wanted to include that. In the same way that she purred, I also put he growled, because that is another one that I see a lot. A character with red hair being super special. There's, nothing against people with red hair. I know a lot of people with red hair. In fact, my son has red hair. But I just find that a lot of authors, especially male authors, write kind of, it's almost like they sexualize women with red hair a little bit more, and it's always kind of bothered me a little bit. Maybe it's because I have dark hair, but then we've got the word smirked. That's just one of the things that I don't like. Evil is ugly. Of course, not always is evil ugly. We have the word countenance, which a lot of people who read books from the 1800s and earlier probably can understand why I put that in there. Describing eyes as either emerald or sapphire. And for the evil is ugly, we also have the good is beautiful. We have somebody padding down the hall, using yawn as an adjective. This is just something I personally don't like. For example, like the hallway yawns before her, that kind of thing. And then we have reference to pop culture. And the reason I included this is that while this can be used very good in some books, there's a reference to pop culture that's going to immediately date it. And because of that, it's almost like the book's already obsolete by the time that I read it. So I just wanted to add that as well. Hopefully I won't be filling out very many of these, right? So my next page is just to kind of look at the month in a really quick way. And that is each month I'm going to write the amount of books I read and the amount of pages. Now, I have not kept track of pages up until this year. So in 2024, I want to see what the page count is for each month compared to each other, just so I can see where I am there. So I think that that would be a really nice measure and something that I'm really looking forward to seeing. And maybe this will be something that I'll incorporate into my reading journals in the future. So here we have a page for new words. This is just basically what it says it is. Anytime I find a new word, a word that I don't know the definition to or something like that, I will be adding it to this book and in the highlighted place, and then I will be just writing the definition. Now, I know that I find a lot of new words, so I didn't just make one page for this. And I'm looking at the camera and I just want to apologize. I know the lighting isn't perfect right now. I'm not certain why that is, because I have a whole bunch of lights on right now. It must just be that there's something in my window that's like kind of getting blocked by the light. It is a kind of an overcast day, so I want to apologize for that, but hopefully you're still able to see this and able to get some ideas. So this is my page for new words. I also decided to make a page for quotes. Just wanted to mention that these stickers also came from the same sticker set that I used for my title page. I wanted to kind of keep using them periodically throughout my journal so that there would be some kind of unifying theme to some of the pages. And now we have 2 pages for each month, and I wrote this in permanent marker and I didn't realize it was going to go through the page. I have a lot of experience with the paperage bullet journals, and I haven't seen hardly any bleeding ever with them. So I was really surprised with this, but hey, it's okay. I'm not worried about that. It's not that fancy. I don't care. So we have obviously a page for each month, or 2 pages really. And of course we've got January, February, March, and on and on. I won't go ahead and show you all of them, but just so you know, I've got every single month here. Again, I use the same stickers that I used for the title page here. I really like this candle, so I put that for December, which is my birthday month. And then I added a few more pages here. We just have a few more. And that is, I really enjoyed reading some award winners in 2023. That was one of my biggest goals, was to make sure that I was very cognizant of reading a lot of award winners. I wanted to do that again this year. So I decided to go ahead and find some of the most reputable awards and then write them down, and I went ahead and went with 10. That way I can be mindful of reading at least one book that has won one of these prizes as I go through my year. And I understand that some of these are going to be doubled. Like, for example, maybe there's going to be a Booker Prize winner that's also one of the 1001 books to read before you die, that kind of stuff. But it's just a way for me to track and have some goals. And here we have another new word page. I thought it would be funny to use this kind of like a newsprint and write new right here. And then just here's my highlight. And just like my other one, I had like a highlighter so that I could write the word in and then write the definition there. And it's the same concept. And then this is my very last page to share with you. And it's just another fun little challenge that I wanted to do, and I just really love cats, and I thought it would be fun to read books with cats. So I have 6 books for this one, and I just put a note over here so I'd know what this meant, because you know it's not 2024 yet, and so by the time I get to this I might be a little confused. But what I mean is books either with cat in the title or on the cover, and so I wanted to see if I could find 6 books like that throughout the year of 2024. So some other really popular book challenges are the A to Z book challenge. I've seen that a lot. A lot of people like to include that. And basically you find a book that either has the title that starts with all the letters of the alphabet, or you find a book where maybe the author's name is all the letters of the alphabet. There's also other reading challenges that you can find. There are so many different kinds of reading challenges, and you can always pick one that works for you. I just wanted to show you some of the ideas I had in my journal. I know that it's kind of early to start a bullet journal for the following year, but I like to plan, and so I like to start early and really try to make sure that I've got very clear goals for the year, because I've just found that that helps me get more excited about reading, and that helps me read more. So for the rest of this journal, which is blank currently, all I'm going to do is basically use this as ways to chart each one of my books. And the way that I'm going to do that is by coming up with a spread where I'm going to be very easy to see the book and then the themes and some of the things that I liked and didn't like about it. Basically, making a page where I can very easily look at it. And for example, if I was in English, I could write a good English report about it, an English essay, for example, or something like that. Or if I was an editor, or if I was somebody who liked to do a lot of book reviews, I could very easily write book reviews from the page. So in a second video, which I will post sometime in the next week, I will share that page with you, and I'll also share how I've used notebooks in the past to do the same thing. That way, if you don't want to buy a bullet journal and you'd rather just spend like $1 on a notebook, you'll very easily be able to do that. I hope that you've enjoyed looking at my bullet journal for my books to read in 2024. Again, I know that it's a little early in the year to be coming up with this, but I wanted to get an early start. This is what I was looking for. But yeah, I wanted to get an early start. I really love reading. I read with a lot of purpose, and part of that is also journaling and writing down when I'm reading. So this is kind of a way for me to share that with you guys. I hope you've gotten a lot of really great ideas. If you love reading, and if you read a lot, or if you want to learn more about how to read with more mindfulness and with more purpose, I think you'd really like my channel. I would really strongly suggest subscribing. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a like. It would really help me out. And comment below with what your favorite page was, or a page that maybe I didn't make that you would like to see in your reading journal. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. I'll see you soon in another video. Bye for now.